obviously at the time of this recording, we are pretty much on the precipice of the NBA Finals. We have one more game to go in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then of course we have a familiar face back in the finals in the West and the Golden State Warriors. So that's what we're gonna start off with today with the upcoming finals, and implications for different players, stuff along those lines. And yeah, so with our one finalist that we already know out of the West, with Golden State, I think what's been on a lot of people's minds now has been, Steph Curry's all-time standing now, and how it could be, definitely enhanced already with another finals appearance post Kevin Durant leaving the team, but definitely will be vaulted up probably with a win and his first finals MVP. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was watching something the other day, and they were debating whether Steph was going to end up as a top 10 point guard or top 10 all time. I think not point guard, but one, I think he already is. He's probably he is the greatest shooter in NBA history, and I think I agree with you there. If winning another ring and then bringing home a Finals MVP too is gonna definitely solidify that, and I don't think it'll be a debate after that. I think it's just too hard to argue when you have someone playing at that high of a level and for that long. So
yeah, definitely. It's probably gonna stand out as his most impactful like finals appearance so far, at least legacy wise.
I think the other ones, they kind of had I don't like saying this, but other people may think of them as having like an asterisk next to them, just because you're playing with Klay Thompson before he was injured. You're playing with KD in his prime, so people are gonna say that they ultimately helped him win those rings, but which obviously they did, but I think Steph deserves a lot of credit in those runs as well.
Yeah, I mean, I pre KD making it, he won a chip without KD, so that is there, but for obvious reasons, with Kyrie and Kevin Love going out in their first finals, and LeBron alone basically still taking him six. A lot of people do look at that ring a bit sideways, and I mean, you could, injuries pretty much affect every year in the finals, but all rings aren't created equally, obviously. So this one, if they're able to get over the hump, it's probably going to be the most valuable, looking back legacy wise.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's kind of just wild how Golden State as a whole has just pretty much jump started their dynasty again, and picked up right where they left off with the first year of Klay coming back. And you don't typically see dynasties being able to also like build up their young talent at the same time and bring them along. I feel like that's really rare. And you've seen with the Warriors, their two rookies with like Kuminga and Moody playing pretty important minutes at certain times this playoff run. And obviously it goes without saying, Jordan Poole should have been a candidate for most improved player this year, somehow wasn't. But yeah, I feel like only the Spurs and with Kawhi would be the only time I can remember like one of those dynasty level teams just build their young talent along the way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's just insane what the Warriors have been able to do over the last decade or so, just bringing in youngsters and being able to develop them. there without, there's a lot of nowadays when you look at the NBA, when you think of the NBA, you see a lot of big free agency splash signings, max contracts, teams trying to bring people in from outside, but the Warriors have been able to kind of figure out a formula that works for them, drafting well and developing their players, in-house, and they haven't really had to. Obviously, KD is the big standout there in terms of free agency signings, but besides that, the Warriors have done, an excellent job of kind of being able to maintain and build that talent in-house.
Yeah. Most of the guys that have been part, I mean, all of the guys in their core pretty much, Clay, Steph, Draymond, were drafted by the Warriors. And I guess the one big one this year was, it didn't happen this year, but yeah, trading for Andrew Wiggins at the time was looked at as a really, dodgy move, considering at the time Wiggins really was considered a bust, having gone number 1 overall, and they found a way to rejuvenate his career to an extent, as like probably their, on certain nights, like their 4th or 5th option. But I mean, this Warriors team has, it's been throughout really, but again, through the draft and those few signings here and there, they're just absurdly deep now. And I feel like unlike their past teams before Durant, it's really taken, I feel like it's taken a bit of the burden off Steph to a degree. This isn't one of his like best individual playoff runs. He kind of just like does what he needs to when it's needed, but at the same time, Jordan Poole has sort of taken some of the offensive burden off of him. Clay is getting there, honestly. He's considering the really severe injuries that he's sustained. It's wild that Klay Thompson even can have games like you saw in the closeout against Dallas. On the other hand, we have Boston and Miami still duking it out. So a week ahead of our finals. So I mean, at the time of this recording, we've got we're just off the heels of Jimmy Butler's historic performance to push this 7. I guess my first thought on that would be, I like most people just did not see a way this series didn't end in Boston last night, and it probably would have. Lowry
should have, I think.
I think Lowry chipped in with like a good game last night. They definitely
he bounced back. I think he had a bad couple of showings in the last 2 games, but last night was a good game for him.
But with Hero, I think still sidelined, and Bam still Bam has struggled a lot this series. He's been a no-show a couple of games and was again last night. So Jimmy really just one of those all-out performances and it's really weird with Jimmy because I feel like he kind of just like performs like a superstar whenever like he feels like it, pretty much. Because he'll have these like monster, you saw it in the bubble too, monster like games, and then follow it up with like 12 points. It's a really strange phenomenon with him.
He's very hit or miss in terms of games, but I think when he needs to step up, he does, as we saw last night. Going into Game 7, I think that's tomorrow. I don't know. I'm trying to think about who I think has the edge in terms of who I think is going to win. I think the Heat are just a very grit and grind team. If you watched like the last 10 8 to 10 minutes of yesterday's game, you saw that everyone was contributing the best they could. PJ Tucker had a couple of big steals, big rebounds. Bam did too. Jimmy Butler hit some insane shots, as we're used to seeing him do. And then Lowry hit a big shot or two as well. So I think they can very much grind it out, but I think the Celtics, in my opinion, are just a better all-around team, better balanced. So I think they're probably going to have the edge in terms of game 7, but home court advantage is a big thing. So that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough to really put a finger on who's gonna have the edge in game 7. Momentum for Boston has obviously been just stopped in its tracks pretty much, from what they had going for them in game 4 and 5, pretty much 2 blowouts more or less. And yeah, I agree that Boston is the better team. That's been the discourse around the series pretty much throughout. Miami really, Jimmy aside, especially with Hero sideline. I feel like he's gonna have to play. If it's not all that serious, and I don't think it's something that he wouldn't be able to play through in a game 7 with the season on the line.
Yeah.
So I feel like he'll suit up for that game, but still, it's definitely like a struggle for Miami at times to create offense aside from Jimmy.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if they can rely on Jimmy to put up that kind of number again.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you watch, there were a couple of bad calls at the end of last night's game, and the Celtics had a couple of sloppy turnovers. So the score is kind of deceiving. I think it was a 8-point difference, but it should have been a lot closer if the Celtics didn't make those, sloppy plays. So the Heat just squeaked by, and that was with Jimmy putting up 47. So
Yeah. I don't know. I still do kind of lean Boston, just because it's been strange with them too this playoffs. They seem to play better off of losses. It is the kind of like inconsistency you wouldn't expect from such a top tier team, but that's just kind of been the way it is. And I still give them the edge, but definitely home court advantage plays a part, and it's definitely a much tougher call now that Miami somehow find a way to push the 7 when it appeared that there'd be no way back for them in this one after games 4 and 5.
Yeah.
I do also want to touch on the one thing that's been going around on like Twitter with these conference, and it is true, these conference finals haven't been, at least from a game to game, particularly from a game to game basis, they haven't been all that fun to watch, considering we've got mostly blowouts. Yesterday was actually the one exception to that, where we got a competitive game, especially in this Boston Miami series. Haven't gotten many close games there. I don't think we had any actually before. Before game 6 last night.
Yeah.
I guess it could be worse, like back in 2017 when we had the Warriors sweeping through and then the Cavs just blowing through whoever. I think it was Boston that year when basically just a gentleman's sweep. So
I think the finals this year, regardless of who wins, I think it'll be a good series though.
Yeah. I would say it'd be more competitive with Boston making it if they're able to make it through this one.
Yeah, definitely agreed.
They have the better personnel to really just their perimeter defenders and all, pretty much across the board. They are the number one defense this playoffs for a reason. And yeah, I think they'd pose a stiffer challenge. With Golden State, I don't think you're going to be able to get away with some of the stretches where Miami is just kind of challenged to score that you've seen throughout this series and throughout the playoffs at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the Celtics will put up a better fight if they end up making it. Yeah, I think they played a pretty good game last night, though. A few mistakes at the end. I think they were down in the third and then they came back, but a few mistakes in the end, and that kind of screwed them over. So just got to clean up a couple of those things, and we'll see if that gets it done for them. But
yeah, for sure. I think Tatum had like 7 turnovers last night. So it's really been in those type moments you can't afford the just throwing away possessions like they did at times last night.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was like 99, 96 or something like that, something pretty close. And then there were a couple of bad turnovers, bad plays from the Celtics that gave the game to Miami pretty much. So